Mr. Speaker, I rise to address some very pertinent issues in the Ministry of the Public Service, Home Affairs, Labor and Gender Affairs. I want to inform you, Mr. Speaker, that this week we are observing Public Service Week as we join the rest of the world and members of the United Nations in the recognition of Public Service Day on June 23, 2022. The theme for this week is Embracing Digital Government Post-Pandemic. Mr. Speaker, we are fully aware of what COVID-19 pandemic did to the world of work, especially in the public service. Many public officers had to work from home or online, and this may very well be the beginning of what is yet to come, as we need to explore this new way of work, given the critical role of technology in the developmental process in our country. Mr. Speaker, this week will be observed with a series of activities, of which some of the main features will include an ecumenical service, which will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, June 22nd, at the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception from 10 a.m. Mr. Speaker, we need to pray for the many public officers in all government agencies who are making tremendous sacrifices to serve our people. Mr. Speaker, I invite you and all members of Parliament to attend along with members of your staff and ministries. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow, Wednesday, we will also have activities to engage the youth to participate in a campaign that will involve Form 4 students from all secondary schools ages 15 to 16 all over the country, and yet 2 students at Sir Arthur Lewis Community College as public service volunteers in their communities. They will be receiving prizes which will be announced on Monday, June 27, 2022. Mr. Speaker, on Thursday, June 23, 2022, this is the Public Service Day, and all persons who are employed by government are encouraged to wear orange to mark the day. Let us make it a big event. Mr. Speaker, our public officers are making tremendous sacrifices to keep this country functioning, especially in these trying times, when we came from a stressful situation of poor governance on July 26, 2021. The COVID-19 pandemic, which started in March 2020, and now the war between Russia and Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, we need to encourage public servants to give their best and support them to strive to give efficient and effective service by putting people first. All agencies are encouraged to show appreciation on Friday, June 24th, by recognizing their colleagues who have given 20 to 25 years service, 25 to 30 years service, and 30 and above. They have served our country well, our fair Helen. Mr. Speaker, we are in the process of modernizing the public service so we can better serve our people. Mr. Speaker, I move quickly to the Department of Home Affairs, and this is the area that has captured the interest of all St. Lucians given the situation in this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to share with you some of the developments and status with regards to the introduction of the e-passports program in St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, the security and integrity of St. Lucia passport is critical to maintaining international acceptance and facilitating travel for St. Lucian citizens. Mr. Speaker, the Passport Office continually reviews its passport documents, processes and systems used to issue them. This involves ongoing dialogue not only with current suppliers, but with law enforcement agents and other international organizations, such as the International Civil Aviation Authority, in the implementation of practices recommended by this globally recognized institution. Comment do, Mr. Speaker, ça fait passeport là, ça va mon chaitet chaud. Avec moi, je veux comprendre qui ça gouvernement a fait. Là, il vient pour passeport. Nous allons changer ces passeports là, c'est mon année actuellement. Côté il y a un passeport qui est plus facile et qui est accepté en place internationale. Mr. Speaker, the Passport Office must be ever vigilant and proactive in its quest to fulfill its mandate of providing an effective and efficient passport service, especially as means to support the Citizen by Investment Program. Conserve, Mr. Speaker, nous ni Citizen by Investment Program là. Excellent, nous avons mon passeport puis nous venons citizen dans cette liste. Et nous ni pour weki passeport nous bien réglé côté yo passe à faire malice et puis. The next steps will provide the Immigration Ministry with the time frame to transition to full compliance as recommended by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, regarding e-passport. As technologies and requirements evolve, we must improve the systems that drive them. The current system and process was designed and implemented over a decade ago to support enhancements and improvements over time, such as the operational seamless shift to e-passports. This foundation will ensure that St. Lucia remains at the front line of border security, although it is recognized that the e-passport is the next logical generation of passports. Mr. Speaker, some of the benefits of the e-passports. The e-passport is the next generation of travel documents and has many advantages as well as direct benefits for the bearer of the document. Mr. Speaker, protection against identity fraud. E-passport reduces the risk of tampering and identity fraud by adding a digital record of the information contained on that printed data page. For an e-passport to be considered genuine and alterated, the microchip data must match the printed data. The biological information and document-specific data loaded into the microchip cannot be tampered with, edited, or modified once programmed. Mr. Speaker, this raises the security barrier to a new level against counterfeiters and those seeking to alter the electronic document. E-passport, Mr. Speaker, will help improve border security measures to create greater safety for our people. Because we talk about crime, and when we talk about crime, we don't look at the other areas that we need to secure in order to control criminal activity. And if we can control our border by having security measures, that is one measure of combating crime in St. Lucia. It will improve the Citizen by Investment Program as it would respond to the need to elevate the security procedures in issuing passports under the CIP. Mr. Speaker, the e-passport will provide greater protection of privacy of information. The introduction of e-passport will embrace bilateral and multilateral agreements, such as the US Visa Waiver Program and the comparable agreements with the European Union. It should be noted that some of these programs have expanded since the introduction of e-passports, owing in part to to the secure nature of the document and risk assessment performed on a country-by-country basis. Mr. Speaker, with the introduction of an e-passport, St. Lucians traveling to the European Union may be better positioned to benefit greatly, given that the European Union has agreed to extend the visa-exempt program to include a number of Caribbean nations. So we are raising the bar, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we need to speak of the modernization of the public service. We have to be up to standard with global trends. Today, an estimated 136 nations are issuing e-passports or will start production by the end of 2022. This translates to more than 70% of all the ICAO member states. Mr. Speaker, since its introduction in 2005, an estimated 1 billion passports have been issued and in circulation. Mr. Speaker, regionally, within the Caribbean, e-passports are issued by the following nations: Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, to launch in 2022, Dominica, Grenada, Jamaica, to be launched in 2023, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we are just playing catch-up now, Mr. Speaker. The Department of Home Affairs do express apologies for the disruption and long delays in obtaining new passports. Nous savons moun ka badye, yo ka vin gade pour passport. But moi ka apologie by say moun ki ka travail at Department Immigration. Because right now, Mr. Speaker, we have some issues. One, it has to deal with the transition from our regular passport to the e-passports. And we also have challenges with the conditions of service in terms of occupation, safety, and health issues in that department. The air quality has not been up to standard, and we have had to close the place a number of occasions. We are encouraging persons who need their passport for urgent matters to travel or for medical reasons to apply for their passports. But those who just want to renew, because we are making the transition to the new passport, the e-passport, we will not want you to renew your passports now and later you have to move over to an e-passport. So we are asking you to be patient as we do that transition. Mr. Speaker, if all goes well, we should be ready to issue the e-passport next month, July 2022. I ask everyone to be a little patient as we prepare to deliver improved and quality service to the people. Let us hope and pray that all goes well for the good of all. Mr. Speaker, let me inform you and this honorable House that the much anticipated report on the review of Babonneau is ready to be examined by the Cabinet of Ministers so we can start the necessary changes needed to improve the environment at the Babonneau Correctional Facility. I want to thank the team of 5 that have worked tirelessly on a weekly basis to deliver this report, which will guide the way forward for the institution. Mr. Speaker, in order to combat crime in the society, we have to address the situation before, during, and after every criminal act is committed in St. Lucia. We cannot wait to send condolences and RIP to families. We have to fight. We have to do what is necessary to curb the scourge of crime in our country. Mr. Speaker, the government is investing in many social programs to strengthen the family unit, especially single mothers who have to raise their sons and daughters with very little support. We need to reactivate many of the organizations that keep young people occupied in a meaningful manner. We need to create opportunities for employment so families can put food on the table, pay their bills, purchase medicine, send children to school. And this is what this government has been doing during the last 10 months, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, during the last 10 months, I have visited all the fire stations and the police stations in St. Lucia, with the exception of 2 fire stations and 3 police stations. I have visited the Department of Probation and Parole, Babonneau Correctional Facility, the Immigration Department, and the Marine Unit. The employees in all these departments, Mr. Speaker, are getting ready to start training again after it was stopped by the last administration for the last few years. There was 0 contribution in the budget for these persons to get training to carry out their duties. So now we have reinstated the funds and they are getting ready for training. The Prime Minister made an allocation to undertake repairs at Babonneau and all police and fire stations throughout the island. Mr. Speaker, I was able to assess the conditions in which these officers work, and there is room for much improvement. This government cares about people and will support our people although we have limited resources at our disposal. Mr. Speaker, this is what a caring government does by putting people first. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Home Affairs has just gotten started with the establishment of the Unit for Youth Justice Program, or Youth at Risk, and that is another measure that is in place to combat crime. This unit is designed to help in the prevention of crime by focusing on our young persons who are experiencing many challenges in their early years. It will be an interministerial committee to pull together resources and experts from the various public agencies currently engaged in dealing with young persons involved in antisocial behavior, crime, gang, violence, all forms of abuse, and other forms of youth offending behavior and other adverse risks. Mr. Speaker, we do not fight crime after it is committed. We have to fight it before it is committed. And that is why the social programs of government is what will help us arrest the situation. And we have seen the statistics at Babonneau, and I have made it clear in this house that the age level is reducing. It means we have too many young people who are finding themselves in that correctional facility. We have to stop it. And we can only stop it by creating opportunities for our people, building our families, and strengthening the network to bring this country in a safer and more conducive environment for us to live. Mr. Speaker, I move quickly to the Department of Labor, and this department, Mr. Speaker, is ready for some major reform. Mr. Speaker, I was privileged to meet the employees in the Department of Labor, and they are not happy. They are not motivated to carry out their duties. The work environment needs improvement, and I have given them the assurance that their suggestions will be taken into consideration in the restructuring of the department. Mr. Speaker, as you are fully aware, in March, to be precise, March 8th, 2022, this government the government of St. Lucia passed and enacted a very powerful piece of legislation on domestic violence. And Mr. Speaker, you are here, you heard what was discussed. Well, Mr. Speaker, I would like to report that this piece of legislation has been well received locally, regionally, and internationally. Mr. Speaker, so far, St. Lucia has been receiving great human, material, and financial support to help us realize the intention of the Domestic Violence Act. Mr. Speaker, we are getting reports that certain sections of the Act are misinterpreted in its implementation. Mr. Speaker, we call on all agencies to be vigilant in monitoring the manner in which the Act is applied, as cases of domestic violence are reported and dealt with by the police and the family court. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General is currently drafting regulations that are needed to help agencies interpret the different sections of the Domestic Violence Act. Mr. Speaker, we know the challenges we are facing in the country today, and St. Lucia is not the only one experiencing the rise in the cost of living, and I want to encourage our people to make some sacrifices. And as was mentioned by my colleague earlier, we have to adjust. We have to make adjustment to our plans, because it cannot be business as usual. Mr. Speaker, the government, under the strong leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister and the group of dedicated men and women in the Cabinet and Parliament, we will prevail. We will provide support to those who are most in need by ensuring that there is bread, they get their freedom, and there is justice for all. Mr. Speaker, let us prepare to serve the people as we brace ourselves to present and debate some of the most powerful pieces of legislation which will be tabled here today, like the Banking Amendment, Public Debt Management, Youth Economy Agency, Firearm Bill, and the much-awaited Special Prosecutor Bill. Mr. Speaker, we have some serious decisions to make for us to take this country to a level in these trying times, and I call on the people in my constituency in Babonneau to be patient. I am prepared to continue to give them the support and representation they deserve with every ounce of energy I have. Mr. Speaker, thank you for your attention as the struggle continues by putting the people first. I thank you.